Oh. Hari Om and good morning from Niagara Falls. If you don't drink wine, do not drink wine, but you find out that the wine is made up of Ganga water, would you drink it? If you don't drink wine, but it's made up of Ganga water, do you drink it? Okay. Here's another proposal. If you drink Ganga water, but imagine the full Ganga, and someone happened to pour a bottle of wine into that Ganga, would you drink it? It seems people are more unanimous with this. Okay. Now these are hypotheticals. These are theoretical. I want to change the words. Imagine Ganga is discipline. That Ganga water I talked about is discipline or tapas. And that wine is imbalance or dvaita. See, if you have a lot of imbalance, that wine, and you put in a little bit of discipline in there, that Ganga water, it's still imbalanced, correct? It's still wine. Conversely, if you have a lot of discipline, a lot of the Ganga water, and there's a little bit of imbalance, a little bit of that wine, it's just Ganga water, correct? You and I right now, this course is called Vedanta in Ramayana. But please be clear, we are not studying Lord Rama's path, we are studying our own path. And this morning, when I was meeting with our teachers, I was asking them to think about education as compared to real education. See, if you put that word real, then it means something different. Education makes us literate. Isn't that how it's actually measured? If people can read and write, then that person is educated. But we've seen in the movie On a Quest, where Swami Shivananda tells Balakrishna Menon that being able to read and write barely makes you literate. Real education is that which helps you to understand and appreciate your potential. Not your finite potential, your infinite potential. That's Ramayana. The Ayana, the path to Rama. Rama is infinity. So we are not studying Ramayana in the sense that we're studying Lord Rama only. We're studying Lord Rama and ourselves. We met a few weeks ago because we had some travels in between and a holiday in between also. A few weeks ago when we met, I gave you 3 names of Bhagavan Shiva's soon-to-be wife. It's not Bhagavan Shiva's wife yet in our katha. The first name I gave you was Parvati, the one who's the daughter of Himavan, the one who's the lord of the mountains. But then I said her name changed to, what's another name for Parvati? Uma, exactly. Uma, that name was given by Parvati Ji's mother. When she started to see what Parvati Ji was engaged in, the level of discipline, she said, ooh, as in like pain, like ouch. And she said, Ma, don't do it. When you see someone in such discipline, it hurts us because we're so indisciplined. Today, a few of us went for a walk near Niagara Falls early in the morning. And there was a young couple that was running. And in my mind, I was thinking, ooh, Ma, just go to sleep. Enjoy yourself. It's too cold right now. Uma. So what discipline was she engaged in? I'd mentioned at the time that for 1,000 years, she was contemplating on Bhagavan Shiva And she kept her body alive by eating roots and vegetables for 1,000 years. If we had to eat roots and vegetables for one day, we would be miserable. Then, for the next 100 years, she only ate, I made a mistake. She ate fruits and roots. For the next 100 years, she ate only vegetables. Scary. Just vegetable diet. For the next days, she only lived off of water and air. Then she actually went a few days without water and air. And then for 3,000 years, she lived just on dried out leaves that have fallen from the tree. How many of you have been raking your leaves? Imagine instead of putting them in those bags and giving them to the city, you had to eat them. That was breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then she even stopped eating those leaves, and her name became Aparna. Parna means leaf. Aparna means without leaves. So we had explored this last week, and I'm going to narrate a little bit more about this part of the katha. Just remember, everyone who is great, past, present, future, secular or sacred, has been the hardest workers, isn't it? Is there any substitute to hard work? Can you lose weight quickly? Can you make a friendship quickly? Can you facilitate an ashram quickly? It all requires hard work. And Mother Parvati is working hard right now. And the symbolic meaning behind this is that even Bhagwan is working hard. In chapter 3 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, we had studied that, where Lord Krishna says, I have nothing to gain, but I'm still working. And you know why he does that? Because those sincere people treat Bhagwan as a role model. And if Bhagwan is working hard, then naturally, we should work hard too. Yesterday in our ashram, we call it TGIF, which is Thank Gurudev It's Friday. Even though it was Saturday yesterday, we still called it TGIF. And someone had walked into the shrine area with their shoes on. And I was very stern with that person. And the reason why, I said, Bhagwan Krishna doesn't have his shoes on. In his own home, he doesn't have his shoes on. So what gives us the right to wear our shoes in his home, correct? When you go to someone's house, you follow the etiquette of that house, isn't it? If they wear shoes, they often tell you, keep your shoes on. But if they take their shoes off, then you don't have a right to keep your shoes on. This is his home. He's working hard. We have to work hard too. So Mother Parvati is thinking about Lord Shiva because she wants to reunite with Lord Shiva because she's been separated from him, correct? She was Satiji. Satiji then gave up her name and form, so she became separate from Lord Shiva. But in her new name and form, she wants to reunite with him. Okay, so that we leave Mother Parvati there. Now we shift to Lord Shiva. What is Bhagwan Shiva doing right now? He's contemplating. Because it's a very challenging situation. His wife, his family member, had engaged in that which is not healthy. So what do you do in such a circumstance, isn't it? So what he did was he closed his eyes and he asked for help from Bhagwan Rama and he stopped worrying. This is a great lesson in how to be with families, is to leave it to those who are higher, wiser, and stop worrying. So Bhagwan Shiva is doing his dhyana of Lord Rama, and he's teaching us that the way past sorrow is to remember the one who's never sorrowful, which is Bhagwan. You know, if I'm sad and I think about you, but you're sad too, then what happens to my sadness? It gets compounded. But if I'm sad and I think about you and you're always jovial and cheerful and joking, then I can be shaken from my sadness, isn't it? That's why a great service is to be happy. those people who are filled with sorrow, they're doing a disservice to humanity. And those people who are happy, even if they do nothing, they're creating for the world what the world needs, isn't it? So be happy. That's what Bhagavan Shiva is trying to teach us. Okay, so Mother Parvati is here. She's thinking about Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is here. Who is he thinking about? Lord Rama. Now, some sadhus, they go to Mother Parvati and they're telling her, all of this discipline you're engaged in, you need to stop. They're telling her, you remember Naradji told Mother Parvati that this is who you're going to get married to, so you should engage in this discipline. So these sages go to Mother Parvati and say Naradji was lying. Naradji is just this wanderer. He doesn't have a home. He doesn't have a family, right? He's a musician. They all start making these kind of comments about Naradji. And you know why these sadhus are trying to shake Mother Parvati? It's like, not that any of you would know, but in Shadi.com, and not that I know either, but they have these filters, you want someone of this height, you want someone with wheatish complexion, you want someone with this income, etc. So you filter people who don't fit into your personality. They're questioning Mother Parvati to see how steady she is, to see how sincere she is, because she is to be the bride of Bhagavan Shiva. And if that's a improper marriage, then it affects the whole universe, correct? This is a community. Everyone thinks they have community weddings. This is actually a community wedding. And Parvati ji, even though she's being dissuaded by all of these sadhus, she's unshaken. And that teaches us that's how our relationship with Bhagavan has to be. Steady, sincere. And if you get dissuaded by someone, you'll never realize Bhagavan Shiva. And isn't it that? So this Sunday morning, we have our discourse. Suppose someone was having a party at 10:30 a.m. today. Would you still be here? You're all saying yes because I'm looking at you. But if I wasn't looking at you, would you be here? Think. If someone was to dissuade you from studying Vedanta and Ramayana right now, can you be dissuaded? And if you can, you're not Mother Parvati. But if you are not dissuaded, you're being like Mother Parvati. Okay? We continue. I am on the first line of the first chopai in the 83rd section of chopais. First line of the first chopai of the 83rd section of chopais. And I didn't mean 83, I meant 84. The 84th section. I'm on page 65. Okay. Mother Parvati is thinking about Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is thinking about Lord Rama. Everyone's following? This katha continues. Tadapi karaba मैं काजू तुम्हारा श्रुति कह parama dharma upakara. So what is shared here is, this multiverse, Lord Brahma needs Lord Shiva to marry Mother Parvati, correct? Right now, Mother Parvati is thinking about Lord Shiva, but Lord Shiva is thinking about Lord Rama. But they need this marriage to happen. And part of the reason for that is there's a demon named Taraka. This demon Taraka has been hurting all of the devatas. And so they went to Lord Brahma saying, we need someone to defeat Taraka. We can't do it. So Lord Brahma says, the child of Bhagavan Shiva and Mother Parvati will be the one who destroys Taraka. But for them to have a child, they have to be married, correct? But how do you get someone like Lord Shiva to get married? He's so immersed in Lord Rama. So who do they call to shake Lord Shiva? Who is our Cupid? Kamadev. Lord Brahma goes to, Cupid is a wrong definition, but Kamadev, the one who rules over lust, the one who rules over attraction. And they go and tell Kamadev, you need to shoot Lord Shiva with one of your arrows. That way, Lord Shiva, who's focusing on Lord Rama, he'll feel this lust and he'll think about Mother Parvati and he'll open his eyes and he'll see Mother Parvati, and it will be like a Bollywood matrimony. There'll be singing, there'll be some dancing. So they approach Kamadev with this. Now Kamadev, when he's hearing Lord Brahma asking this, what does Kamadev think? Kamadev says this is suicide. He knows that anyone who shakes Lord Shiva, that is suicide. He says that. This is my death, he says. But what was just shared here is so beautiful. Kamadev says this. I just read you a line from Kamadev. He says, I shall do your work because it says in the Vedas that one should live compassionately. And the way to live compassionately is to help others. Though this is my death, the Vedas teach compassion, and compassion is manifested as helping others. The word upakara, it's a very beautiful word. Kara means to do. Apakara is to do but offend someone. Upakara is to do but to help someone. Canadian Blood Services, what is our motto? It's in you to give. That's a nice message. We have blood inside of us to give to those who need blood. Sharira madhyama khalu dharma sadhanam. The only usage of this body is to help others. And if our body is not helping others, this body is adharma then. We're using this body irresponsibly if it's not helping others. So, when Kamadev says this, he says, this is my death, but I'll do this for you. So Kamadev is in one place, Lord Shiva is in one place. It takes him 1 hour to get from where he is to Lord Shiva. And he thought, since I'm going to die soon anyways, I may as well show the world my power. So Kamadev starts exhibiting his power. He starts sending lust through the whole multiverse. And there's so many elaborate descriptions here of the bees start buzzing more, the animals start looking at each other more. It's said here that all of those wise people who see all of creation being the same, she sat, he sat, that chair is sat, the air is sat, they start seeing the opposite gender. Instead of Lord Brahma, they start seeing the opposite gender. So even people who are wise, their minds are disturbed too by Kamadev. It's also shared here that what happens eventually is Lord Shiva will open his eye, and I'll get to that. When Kamadev is destroyed, then for a moment, all of the yogis are so happy because there's nothing to distract them, and all of the bhogis are so unhappy because there's no more lust. And he says those bhogis, they feel like they're, in the book itself it says, they feel like vampires during the daytime. Vampires can't live during the daytime, right? They're in their cocoon, in their hibernation. The word vampire is used here. I told you everything comes from Ramayana and Sanatana Dharma. So, Kamadev starts exhibiting his power, and everyone is distracted. Now, let's start thinking about this symbolically. What does this mean for you and I? Only, and this is exactly what Guruji said, Swami Tejamayananda, he said only rookie seekers. He used the word rookie. What does the word rookie mean, for those who don't know? What does rookie mean? I'm using an English word. I'm not saying rookie. I'm saying rookie. Novice, beginner, amateur, inexperienced, right? That's a rookie. He says only rookie seekers are people who are distracted by lust. Only rookie seekers. Now, that's a reality check for us, isn't it? Every one of us is distracted by lust. It's because we're still rookie seekers. And Bhagwan is sharing here what Goswamiji is sharing is those people who are devoted to Bhagwan. Those people who are devoted to self-development, those people are protected by Bhagwan, are protected by their self-development. So if you're committed to being a better person, there will be so much help that comes to you. But if you and I are casual about self-development, there will be so many challenges that will come with that. Making this even more subjective, when you and I have the highest purpose, our body, mind, intellect, and even our ego all gets aligned towards that purpose. And so when lust pushes you from here, and power pushes you from here, and jealousy pulls you from here, and conceit pushes you down, you're so aligned that it doesn't affect you. Like a wheel alignment. In a brand new car, you don't have to brake very hard, correct? It's all aligned. When you're driving, it's very sensitive to turning when your car is new. But if it's misaligned, if there's a lack of fluid, you have to hit the brakes so hard. I remember the first car that I was ever given. My parents were very generous. They gave me a 1988 Dodge Caravan or a Dodge Voyager. They don't make them anymore. They're so old. This car, its headlights were half filled with water. It was like an underwater vehicle. To open the window, you have to use pliers to pull the window up and down. And the gears were always one back. So if you wanted to go in reverse, you had to go to drive. If you wanted to go to drive, you have to go into 3. So if you don't know that, you're trying to drive, but you're going in the wrong direction. And the reason why I'm sharing this is I remember when I had to brake with that car, it was like I had to kick a soccer ball. I had to slam the brake on that car just to get that car to stop. But now in a new car, right, you barely have to touch that. So if you think about your life, if you're subject to pressure, any direction of pressure, what is your purpose? And maybe your purpose isn't high enough to make you strong enough. And one secret to understanding the highest purpose is to be around the highest people. When you're around people who are working their hardest, working their smartest, then you start to do the same. And if you're around people who are napping all the time, even though you don't want to nap, you still nap, isn't it? In Bharat, and actually the only societies that don't nap after lunch are American and Canadian societies. In the Czech Republic, they nap after lunch. In Bharat, they nap after lunch. In Mexico, what is it called? Siesta. A siesta, correct? So when I was in school in the Czech Republic, after lunch, then I would like to go to the gym or shopping or do something, but everything was closed. And school was not that tough, so I started taking naps after lunch too. It wasn't my fault. It was the whole society's fault that happened. So how you are is really indicative of the company that you're keeping. And if you're around strong people, watch yourself how strong you become. And poetically, where there is kama, Rama can't be there. Where there is desire, there cannot be contentment. Where there's Rama, who can't be there? Kama. And now that's shown very beautifully in the next line that we will study. I'm on the first line of the third chopai of the 89th section of chopai. So once again, I'm on the first line of the third line of the third chopai of the 89th section of chopais on page 69. On page, I've moved too far. I'm sorry, I have to tell you this again. I'm on, I added a line here. Okay. I'm on the second line of the third chopai of the 87th section of chopai. So that's 2387 on page 68. When Kamadev reaches Bhagavan Shiva after that hour, he starts to use his arrows of honey and roses and all of that. He starts to use that against Lord Shiva. Then what happens? Tab Siva Tisara Nayana Ugara. And you know these words. Then Lord Shiva, his third eye, Ugara, it means like rips it open. He shows his third eye. Chittavat. What does chitta mean? Funeral. Like a funeral pyre. Like a funeral pyre. Kamau Bhayu Jari Chara. Kamadeva, it's as if he's burned on that funeral pyre. So Lord Shiva, he opens his third eye, and at the speed of light, Kamadeva turns into ashes. And as I was mentioning, when this happened, for that period of time, the yogis were so happy, the bhogis were so sad, and the most sad person was Rati. Rati is Kamadeva's wife. And she goes to Shambhu and she's begging him, she's crying that this is my husband. He didn't ask to do that, correct? It was the multiverse that asked him. He knew that this was suicide, but he still did it for the people. Like a kamikaze mission, if you take war terminology to this. That please bring my Kamadeva back. And Lord Shiva says, I've taken away his name and I've taken away his form. So for the present time, he'll be known as Ananga. Ananga means the one without a form or without a name. So Kamadeva will be there, but he won't be called Kamadeva and he won't have a form. He will be without anga. Anga means limbs. Ananga means the one without limbs. Now, I want to talk about this subjectively. How many eyes does Lord Shiva have? How many eyes? 3. Each of these eyes represents a different virtue. His first eye symbolizes, and please note this is how we should live with each other. The first eye is justice. Bhagavan Shiva is a just person. Our creator is just. Second eye is, where there's justice, what other virtue has to be there? Think as parents. Very good. Compassion. Parents, you have to be just, but with justice must come compassion. If you're too just with someone, you're too just with them, what happens with your relationship with them? Fear. You even saw yesterday when we watched The Jungle Book, wasn't it that Mowgli had this fear of Bagheera? That Bagheera will always judge him, will always tell him, don't do this, don't do that, remember? So, too much justice. And if there's too much compassion, what happens to that relationship? You take it for granted then. You start to take it casually. That was Mowgli with Baloo. Baloo is just, yeah, do whatever you want. We'll just eat honey and enjoy. Too much compassion. And so his third eye is of wisdom. Wisdom when to apply more justice, wisdom when to apply more compassion. You can't just rule of thumb, 50-50. It's not like that. If someone is suffering, you have to give them more compassion. If someone is being arrogant, you have to be more just. That's how relationships are. And now all of us are, at least in this field, we have many more committees now, right? Steering committee, working committee, teaching committees. Remember Lord Shiva's 3 eyes. And what Swami Tejramananda had shared about this, he said, if you and I all got what we deserved, we would be miserable. But because of that compassion, when you and I do something wrong, it's minimized 10 times. When we do something right, it's magnified 10 times. Just think, if we got what we deserved, we'd all be miserable. If we all got a ticket every time we sped, we'd be miserable, correct? In Ontario, they're trying to bring back photo radar. You see how sad people will be soon. If we all had to account for every dollar of tax that we owe to the government. I mean, if you take a book from here, you have to pay taxes. If you use your home for office space or anything like that, your car, you have to account for every kilometer. This is business, this is personal. Who would have the mindset to track all of that? I'm not saying don't do that. I'm not advocating you to act illegally, but my point is, we should be grateful. Subjectively here also, Lord Shiva, he feels for Rati. So he says, this is when Lord Rama is present, correct? And the next yuga is when Lord Krishna is present. He says, when Lord Krishna takes avatar, your husband will be the son of Lord Krishna. What does his name become? Pradyumna. Lord Krishna's son is Kamadeva. But think now. Think. Lord Krishna is the cause. Lots of virtues. So Pradyumna will be the effect. He will also have the same virtues. So in Kamadeva, he serves other people. You see his form and name are destroyed, but he becomes much better. Mother Sati, her form and name is destroyed, but she becomes much better. What that teaches us is that anything that happens in our lives, it's for our own betterment. It's very deep here. So is there any room for complaining? What are you complaining against? It's all for our betterment. And one last thought about this. So in Lord Rama's time, from when Lord Shiva burns Kamadeva to him becoming Pradyumna, Kama is still there, but Kama doesn't have a form, correct? I had mentioned that? That's even more dangerous, isn't it? If Kama has a form, you can run away from that form, but if Kama doesn't have a form, that really means Kama is in all forms. Isn't that happening right now? You know what the number one word searched on the internet is? And I'm ashamed of even saying it is pornography. Kama. Isn't it? Kama is not attraction. Attraction is needed for the continuation of the species. This is lust. Lust is uncontrolled. When Kama has a form, when you have an enemy with a form, you can do something about it. But when that enemy doesn't have a form, it's very dangerous. And how true it is? Okay. Now, I had mentioned to you last time that we're going to be privy to Bhagavan Shiva's wedding, correct? I had mentioned that. So we get to that point of our katha now. So I am now on, I just mentioned that to you, I'm on the first line of the third chopai of the 89th section of chopais. So 1, 3, 89. This is on page 69. What's Mother Parvati doing? She's just been guided by these sadhus that you should marry Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva was focusing on Lord Rama, but then who came? Kama came. Now he's opened his eyes, correct? So now her eyes are open and his eyes are open. And when two people's eyes are open in this context, that means that they're looking at each other. So this is what's narrated next. Suni bidi binaya samujui prabhu bani a sehi hoi kaha sukhu mani. When Mother Parvati and Lord Shiva, they both open their eyes, Lord Brahma goes to Lord Shiva and says, she's been engaged in remembering you. Please marry her. Marry her for us. Marry her for us. And when Lord Shiva hears, that he needs to get married, he says, Tathastu. If I need to be married to Mother Parvati, then I will be married to Mother Parvati. As soon as he says yes, this is like a marriage proposal, but it's not between the girl and the boy. This is like an arranged marriage. That started from here too. But this is a very awesome arranged marriage because everyone involved is so wise, Not lustful, not, okay, we need this income and they have to look like this. It was a pure marriage. As soon as he says, in the book it says Amen. As soon as he says Tathastu, Tata Astu, so be it. Immediately, all of the gods started playing their instruments. The Gandharvas started playing their shanais, the dundubi started playing, people started playing the dhol and the tabla and all of that. And resounding in the heavens was Jai Jaikar, Jai, Jai, Jai Bhagavan Shiva. Everyone started rejoicing at this wedding. And then immediately what happened was Lord Brahma and everyone went to Mother Parvati and said, he said yes. So all of her discipline, you remember her tapas? Hard work will always manifest. It will always pay is what we say. So Mother Parvati is so happy. And then they go to Mother Parvati's parents. So they go to Himavan, they go to Mena, and they're so happy also that their daughter will stop engaging in such Gora tapas. This is going to happen. And now for all of the parents who have kids of that marriageable age, that's all that's on your mind, correct? And when it happens, right? Phew, finished. So now that's complete. When both parties have now agreed to be married, then what happens is we first focus on the bridegroom. So Lord Shiva's Bharat. So they all know Lord Shiva. So all of the devatas come with their spouses and their vehicles. So Indra's there, Varuna's there. Everyone is over there. And the most important person that's part of the Bharat on Lord Shiva's side, who's his best man? Who is Lord Shiva's best man? No, Nandi is more of a helper. He's like a Sala. Who's his best man though? Bhagavan Vishnu. How many times have I told you they're devotees of each other? Best man, that also started here in Ramayana. So the Bharat is being gathered, and the leader of that Bharat is Bhagavan Vishnu. But when you're about to go in this Bharat, you have to dress up, correct? I was married here in 2010. My Bharat started in the back. So we had a tent, and they had to put that flower veil on me, and then so on and so forth. So now this is Bhagavan Shiva. So he starts decorating himself. He has earrings. Whatever his earrings made up of? Not gold snakes. He has a sacred thread. What is that made up of? Another snake. He has bangles on. What are they made up? More snakes. So he's decked, like I have a hair tie in my hair. What is his? That's also, also a snake. Then when I went for my barat, I put chandan on and I put deodorant on and cologne. What did Lord Shiva do? He took all of that ash and started covering himself with ash. Ash over here, ash over here. But where did they get the ash? From the actual funeral pyre. It wasn't filtered in rose water and all of that. It was actual ash. And he started rubbing himself with all of this ash. So the barat is going. They're going to Himavans, pavilion. They call it a pavilion. Now, as Bhagavan Vishnu is looking back at Lord Shiva, and he's saying he has all of these snakes on, all of this ash. He's just wearing a lion's skin, no upper cloth. And Bhagavan Vishnu is looking at all of the attendants. So Indra's there, Varuna's there. He says, this barat is not worthy of Lord Shiva. Not worthy. He tells all of those devatas that live in heaven, you all go separately. We need a better barat for Lord Shiva. He's saying this sarcastically, that this barat is not worthy of Lord Shiva. So he sends all of them away and he calls in Lord Shiva's actual barat. Now, who is his actual barat? All of the ganas start coming. The goblins, the ghosts, the vampires. And I love this part of Ramayana. I have to read it to you because it's so great, okay? Here is some of the barat that came. Okay. Some were headless, while others were hydra-headed monsters. Some were without hands, some without feet, while others had numerous hands and feet. Some had numerous eyes, while others had no eyes. Some were stout, some were well-built, some had very slim bodies, some had no bodies. Some were tidy, some had dirty habits, some were carrying skulls, some had the heads of donkeys, some had the heads of dogs and swine and jackals. Goblins and fairies and troops and spirits, they all join the barat. Then Lord Vishnu says, now we have a barat. So they're all enjoying all of this. Now they're all going to Himavans pavilion. Now they're all waiting for Bhagavan Shiva and party to come. So now I have to describe a little bit of Himavans gathering. Now he's the Lord of the mountains, correct? So all of his friends are nature. So the other mountains, they come. The streams, the lakes, the oceans, the deserts, they all take on a form and they come. They're all standing straight. They all smell good and all very proper. And when this description is put about what the bride's party is created to welcome Lord Shiva, it's shared that Lord Brahma, who's created all of this, they made Lord Brahma look small. That's how much effort they put into receiving the bridegroom and the barat. Now the close family members, they went to the outskirts of the city to greet the barat in advance, correct? To show their respect. So they did this. And the first being they saw in the barat was the best man, right? Lord Vishnu is guiding the whole barat. So they were very happy. Everyone's going to look like Bhagavan Vishnu. Mother Lakshmi's over there. She's wearing a lot of gold. He's very, Vrikodara. He has a 6-pack, 8-pack, 12-pack, whatever he has, Looking good. This is going to be a good relationship. Vrikodara means the one who has a belly like a wolf. It's shared that a wolf can digest even metal. That anything that a wolf eats can be digested, so they never have a gut. So Bhagavan Vishnu is Vrikodara. Okay, everyone is visualizing this. Bharat is coming. They see Bhagavan Vishnu. But then they look past Bhagavan Vishnu. And the first people to look past are the kids, right? They always go ahead. They want to see who's coming. When those kids started seeing the ganas, the goblins, the ghosts, the people without heads, they started panicking and ran back. The parents, they started fainting. All of those kids' parents started fainting. People were saying that the army of death has come to marry Mother Parvati. And then finally, Mother Parvati's mother sees Bhagwan Shiva. And when she sees Mother Parvati's future husband, she also faints. Faints. Now, I imagine, we're looking for auspicious omens. She faints. And when that happens, then quickly they revive her. And as soon as she starts waking up, she just starts crying and crying and crying. She goes to Mother Parvati and says, please forgive me for, for what we've done here, for arranging this wedding. And that's where we leave the katha for this week. The Bharat has reached the pavilion. There's a lot of cheerfulness on the Bharat side. There's a lot of skepticism and fear on the bride side. But I must finish with some of the subjective meaning behind all of this, okay? We'll go. When Lord Shiva was asked why he should get married, why did Lord Shiva get married? Was it under his own volition? He did it for the people. Compassion is what makes someone a master. How much compassion Lord Shiva had. He was already united with Lord Rama. He's already content. But the multiverse needed him to get married, so out of compassion, he did. And you see, he was never an aloof husband. He was a husband. What this teaches us is a sadhu. Someone who knows the highest, someone who knows Advaita, still engages in Dvaita, not for themselves, but for the people. Exactly. If you can contemplate on that, someone who feels that all of this is a dream, but they still work hard in the dream, that is a very unconditional expression of love. Also, Lord Shiva, what is he wearing? He's wearing snakes. He has a garland of what? Skulls. He's wearing a garland of skulls. What is the powder he used? Ashes. Who's part of his Bharat? Everyone that we reject, he accepts. All that society rejects, Lord Shiva accepts. And by accepting them, they all become great too, isn't it? Here, what Goswamiji is teaching us is to be very mindful of our likes and dislikes. If you have a lot of likes, what's coming with it? Dislikes. And what Swami Chinmayananda teaches, the more you run after likes, what do likes do? They run away. And the more you run away from dislikes, what happens? They chase you. But if you accept, all becomes auspicious. And the last point that I wanted to share here was, you remember Bhagwan Vishnu made that sarcastic comment that they're all not worthy of Lord Shiva. Did Lord Shiva get mad? Are you insulting me, Bhagwan Vishnu? He was cheerful. He was cheerful before he got married. He was cheerful during the Bharat. He will be cheerful when he gets married. He will be cheerful after he gets married. The marriage is incidental. Subjectively, how should we be? Cheerful. There's no point in not being cheerful, right? You're sitting here, you have two choices, be cheerful or not be cheerful. Be cheerful. I don't lose by you not being cheerful. I'm cheerful. You may as well be cheerful too. Why complain? So this is all shared. Oh.